The following is a legal advertisement. This does not constitute individual legal advice and should not be construed as such. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. My name is Michelle Gamino, and I am the Client Resource and Business Development Coordinator for Gwendolyn J. Stirk and the Family Law Group. Our speakers today are family law attorneys Gwendolyn Stirk and Jennifer Nolan. Today's topic is relocation.
So, Gwen, I have a question, kind of hypothetical. Mom comes in, wants to move to Las Vegas with the children. There's a court order here for parentage, and it has relocation language in there regarding moving 25 miles or more from the state of Illinois, and she wants to relocate. So what I think would be the first advice we should give her?
Well, first of all, I think we have to deal with the reality, don't you? Mm-hmm. That her ex is going to be fuming because she's moving to Vegas. I mean, seriously, absolutely. Vegas of all places?
Sin City, absolutely.
And so she's taking the minor children there?
Taking the minor children.
Well, wouldn't you be aggravated?
I think I would. But you know what? I would need to ask questions like, do you have a job? Do you have a house? Is it for school? What's the purpose?
Okay, but hold on. We're in the Chicago metropolitan area. If you can't find a job here, why move to Vegas? We got everything, don't we?
We do, but Vegas, the lights, the fun.
Okay, but seriously, I mean, what about my parenting time? I'm dad. I want to see my kids on a day-to-day basis. I want to go to their sporting events, and she wants to move.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the concerns we should bring up to her. How are you going to work out the visits? It's going to be summer. Is it going to be spring breaks?
Okay, but why should Dad just get stuck with summer? Dad goes, and in this case, say that Dad goes to hockey, and they play hockey, and they travel, and it's every weekend, and he's able to see the kids 3 or 4 times a week. How are you going to make that up?
Well, I mean, like I said, if it's because she has a job and she's making $200,000 a year, I think, it should be considered we can make it up, fly out the kids every other month or so.
Okay, but maybe Dad thinks it's because it's a boyfriend.
Well, I mean, some judges, if you have a boyfriend, they really don't care about this boyfriend.
You're right. But at the same time, I think that the first thing you have to deal with relocation is scorn. Because Dad, in this case, could be scorned by the fact that Mom wants to take his 3 little children and go out to Vegas, of all places, Sin City itself.
Come on, it's cultural.
Cultural for what? Cultural for sin. So these are the problems that come up with the issue of relocation.
Absolutely. I can see that. And then I think because in this scenario there's a parentage case pending here, we have to deal with the UCCJEA, and that's a whole fight in of itself, correct?
It is a fight in of itself because first where's going to be jurisdiction. But right now I'm in Illinois, kids are in Illinois, they've been here for 6 months, so Illinois should control. And just because Mom decides that now they were living together and she wants to move out to Vegas, why should she be able to do that?
Well, I guess it'll go back to her reasons. What if Mom just picks up and leaves?
She can't, because if there's a parentage action pending, and even if there is any kind of parenting agreement or allocation judgment, you can't move more than 25 miles because you even acknowledged that said it in their agreement.
That's true.
So it used to be, this is kind of weird, because as an old timer practicing law for more than 27 years, used to be that you could move anywhere in Illinois. So you could move from the Chicago area to the border of Iowa, but you didn't have to get accountability from the court, but you couldn't move over the border to Hammond, Indiana, or you couldn't move over the border to Milwaukee, Wisconsin without getting permission. So this was their great theme, to put this 25-mile restriction on counties that surrounded Chicago. So if you're Cook County or you're Collier County, it's the 25 miles, and if you're out beyond that, then it's 50 miles because it's more rural where you have to get permission.
Right. Oh, let's just say in this scenario, what if there was no pending parentage action? There was no pending divorce. There was nothing.
If there's nothing pending, they can move. It's a free country.
But how can Dad fight to get them back, or Mom fight to get them back?
Okay, if Dad came in and they moved, I'd tell Dad, file now, because 6 months these kids have been residents of the state of Illinois under the UCCJA. Illinois is their home state, and make them live in Illinois pending an outcome.
Did the kids have any say so? I think a lot of parents, they get this idea, my kids want to move, they want to be, around a different environment.
Okay, come on, they're 8 years old. Well, do they get a choice? I mean, I want to move to Vegas for what?
What if they're like 16, 17?
I understand, and I
And they
do
want-
think that the court will consider that as one of the factors. But if mom comes in under this hypothetical, what does mom have to do?
Well, all the same of the things that she had to do when she had the parenting agreement. She has to show that this is not to interfere with the with the relationship of dad. She has to show that there's some, I guess, I don't know. Do you still have to do the best interest standards if there's nothing?
You do have to do the best interest standards. You have to look at their employment situation, whether or not there's going to be relatives out there, how the parenting schedule can be modified to accommodate the other parent from Vegas to here. You have to look at the overall schools. You have to compare, are you medical? All the things that would be available here, are they available there? Are they better there? Are they the same as here? And what's
Right.
the reason for the move?
Gosh, it just seems like we have to get maybe experts to determine what schools are better, or can we just get things off the internet? You know, Google is a great source.
Right, but it's not in and of itself dispositive. So as a result, what makes a better school? What if the scorecard in Illinois as compared to the scorecard in Nevada is much different?
Right.
And so the Illinois school might at the end of the day be better.
That makes sense.
And then also for your particular child, especially if they have some kind of IEP or there's something available, it might be that the Illinois school is better than the other. So it's a very difficult set of circumstances.
Yeah.
But there has to be a plan, don't you agree?
Absolutely. It has to be a plan in place.
And you get these parents who walk in and they say, oh, I just want to move to Vegas, or I think I've always wanted to go to the mountains. How about Denver? Right? And so
Right.
what do? You say to them, what do they need to bring to the
Right.
court's attention?
Right. All of the things that we already talked about, the best interest of the child, why they want to go. If it's just not up and moving to get away from the other parent, because sometimes you do have parents that just say, you know, mom's never been involved, so I'm taking the kids to Denver.
You know what I think is that before people start engaging in having children, they need to understand Illinois law because they don't get it. They don't get it that when they have a child, they're going to have to be accountable to the other parent, and that the court really is the person that takes over that child's life.
Absolutely. And then it's in the hands of the court.
Right,
At
they're
that
really a
point.
ward, right? A ward of the court who makes a decision whether or not the move can occur or
Right.
not.
Right.
And I think that the pendulum has swung on this issue for many years. It used to be more common to be able to get them to be able to relocate. Then we saw a period of time where case law said, no, it's more complicated. And I think it's that battle between a modern society where there's a genuine job transfer versus simply a desire to move, don't you?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, more so, I think I'm finding there's like this desire to move with this new trend of finding something new and finding oneself in this society in this day and age. It's not just necessity because my job is moving. It's more so I want a new environment.
Right. I also think that the age of the children is an important factor in doing that, and I think some of the studies have shown that. You know, little children bond to a parent much differently than older. Wouldn't you agree?
I do.
And so the little kids need more frequent contact, even if it's a less number of hours, versus children that might be older and might be able to adjust to a summer at dad's and then regular time at mom's, or vice versa, because there's many instances where dad has the children.
I agree. And, you know, that's when I think, go back to my other statement, I think it will be costly if you're involving minor children or younger children, because now if I were the opposing party, I would want to get someone in to step in like a guardian ad litem or child rep to speak to this child and kind of see whether it's in the best interest of the children to move forward. Because when they are of the younger age, you know, they don't really, you know.
They don't have that opportunity to
Yeah.
bond, right? And so I do have one other observation about these removal cases. And in those removal cases, my position is that, you know, it is a free country. If a parent wants to move, they can move. Just leave the kids here. We forget about that.
Yeah, and then, you know, but I think it's that struggle. I don't want to feel like or be perceived as the parent who just up and left my kids.
Understand, but then there's choices. And so I think parenting really at the end of the day is about a lot of choices.
Yes, absolutely. And it goes all the way back to what you said. You have to consider who you're having children with, your desires, your goals, and the end game, essentially. Once you send the kids off to school and they start their own families, you know, planning all that.
If you're going to do relocation, what I would suggest to somebody is to look at their parenting agreement, because if they have mediation, they first have to exhaust that.
Correct.
And then how long does it take to have a removal case heard?
Oh, It ranges. It depends on the fight. I think it can take, you're looking maybe a year or two. It depends on the factors that you lay before the court, whether the other party is going to fight, whether there's a plan in place that the court sees as the best interest of the children. And, if not, I can see it going on for a year, maybe two.
Right, and although they're supposed to handle these custody issues, what used to be called custody allocation of responsibilities now is they're supposed to do them in 18 months, but the reality is sometimes that doesn't take place. And so you can't file and say, oh, it's June 15th, I want to move by the school year.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen is right. And so people have to have a reality of what that is as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow, this reality check that this is a free country, I can go where I want to, but no, you can't, especially when you're dealing with kids.
So overall, if somebody comes in for relocation, we're going to talk to them. We're going to give them the factors. They used to be called the Eckert factors. They're now in our actual statutory provision. You have to come in with a plan. We ask you to gather that documentation and that support so we can put it together, and then we file a petition with the court.
Correct. I think that's a good plan.
Okay, very good.
The proceeding was a legal advertisement from Gwendolyn J. Stirk and the Family Law Group.